What's up, people? Welcome back to Chris Chats Comics. My name is Chris Gonzalez, and I'm back again for another recap episode, comic book recap episode of all the books that I picked up last Wednesday. And for this week, we got 5 titles. We got one from Marvel, one from Ignition Press, and 3 from DC Comics. So let's get into it. And welcome back. So originally this video series was initially called Single Issues Saturdays, and then I switched it to Sundays to accommodate my schedule, but I've been kind of inconsistent with releasing it on Sundays, and sometimes I'll drop it on a Monday, and obviously today is a Tuesday, so I think I'm going to rename this series again and just call it comic book recaps. Make it pretty easy. You know what this video series will be about then, so I'll be essentially just recapping and reviewing, discussing all the issues that I picked up. So yeah, I think that's going to be the final rename of the series. So yeah, starting with this episode, I'm going to be renaming the series, but I'll still keep the numbering. I'll still keep the legacy numbers, so don't worry about that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start off with Marvel, and the lone Marvel title that I read this week is Daredevil. This is issue number 4, and this is legacy issue number 691. This is written by Stephanie Phillips. The artwork's done by Lee Garbett. The colors are done by Frank Martin, and the letters are done by Ariana Maher. So we've been going through this arc where Matt, he has come across this new villain called Omen, and Omen's not after Daredevil, he's after Matt Murdock, and Matt Murdock, he was being really paranoid because he can't seem to figure out what's Omen's end goal. His senses are all off, and he's just trying to figure out what Omen's all about. And meanwhile, the subplot, there's 2 detectives, Detective Forte, and I think Detective or Officer Callahan. They are looking into these murders that have been happening throughout New York, where the victims' eyes have been gouged out like completely, and Omen is a part of that as well. So why is Omen doing this? And also there's another subplot with this billionaire who's invested a lot into the university that Matt's working at, I think Empire State University, and there's something nefarious surrounding this guy, and his name is Harlan Vale. So, but yeah, let's go ahead. Artwork by Lee Garbett, again, is always awesome. But we start off the issue with a flashback back to Matt's father battling Jack Murdock, and we Daredevil fans know the story. His father gets murdered because he doesn't throw a fight, and then so throughout the issue, it just keeps flashing back to Matt's history, and then we follow up again. Omen is beating the shit out of Daredevil once again, and all of a sudden Omen is essentially about to kill Matt, but Omen gets shot and Matt gets saved. But who saved Murdock? And you can kind of tell there. Meanwhile, again, we jump to, we're at the shooting range, and Detective Dominic Forte, he is a shitty shot, and Callahan, he's giving him shit for it because he's pretty much like, hey, if we're put in a situation where you have to shoot somebody to defend me, like, are you gonna be able to do it? And Forte is like, he's kind of pissed that they're doing this instead of looking into the murders. And then we, like I mentioned, we jump to Empire State University. Harlan Hale, he's, offering his company's technology to all the students, and one of the teachers is suspicious of Harlan. And so what's his deal? What's that all about? So that's pretty much this. Again, this teacher, I forgot her name, but she is teaches the class right after Matt's class, but she's questioning Mr. Vale's motives. And again, he's probably has something nefarious going on. But then again, we catch up with Daredevil, and again, it was the owl who saved him. And yeah, again, the artwork by Lee Garbett and Frank Martin's colors just continue to be standouts. Eventually, Matt gets free. I like this image right here. Matt gets free, and Matt, he's trying to, figure out what his next move is, because again, he keeps getting his ass kicked, and he can't find a way to stop Omen. And meanwhile, again, we're getting flashbacks of his days training with Stick. But then we cut back to Detective Forte and Callahan. They are back investigating the ship from the issues prior. Forte goes by himself, but Callahan, follows him, and then they run into Omen, and Omen is one ugly SOB. So Omen attacks them. He attacks Officer Callahan's, and Detective Forte gets spooked. He drops his gun, and as earlier when they were practicing in the shooting range, it kind of foreshadowed to this ending. But Omen has killed Callahan and taken his eyes, and Detective Forte is just cowering like a little bitch. So that's where the issue ends. So it was an okay issue of Daredevil. This run so far has been pretty good, not great. The artwork is always the standout, but the writing and the story just a little iffy. So, but I'll still continue to read it. I think it's good enough. But yeah, that was Daredevil issue number 4. And now we move on to the lone title from Ignition Press. We got Just Brutal. This is issue number 4, and this is written by Dennis Hopeless. The artwork and the letters are done by Brom Revel, and the colors are done by Marissa Luis. And this is another great issue of Just Brutal. It's been a couple months since it came out. So we start off with, we're back at Emmy's house, and Emmy is the girlfriend to Jordan, or pretty much our main protagonist. And Emmy's parents are just having a discussion with Gary Williams, and Gary is kind of this, I don't think he married Jordan's mom, but he's been dating Jordan's mom. He's kind of the step parent, and Jordan was being really disrespectful to Gary the last issue. So Gary is just talking with Emmy's parents, and they're just, having discussion about that. And Gary, he gets more into his backstory by telling Emmy's parents that, hey, yeah, my dad was a cop, he got shot, he was confined to a wheelchair, and they always butted heads. But then one day, Gary's father decides to listen to him, and they started to mend their relationship, and Gary just hopes one day that he'll be there to listen to Jordan so they can have a better relationship. And then meanwhile, while Gary's telling this story, you see the phone that's placed on the table. There's been a text from Emmy, and now there's multiple texts from Emmy, because at the end of last issue, Jordan and Winter started developing their powers. So Emmy is freaking out. She doesn't know what to do. Jordan has, got this sword now, and Winter, she's floating in the air, and eventually Winter passes out. She's unconscious, and Jordan, he's fending off. Emmy can't see what he's fighting against, but while Jordan is wielding this sword, he is facing off like a hallucination of his father, but only he can see his father. So, and the sword is talking to Jordan. And again, just the writing, I think the writing by Dennis Hopeless is really good in this. Great humor. and the artwork by Rebel is also great. So, cut back to Gary, and Gary's. I forgot what the main demon's name. The main demon on the cover. I forgot what his name is. It starts with a K, I think. But I think Gary has been possessed by this entity. We don't know how. And Gary's subplot. Initially, I didn't like Gary, but over the past few issues, Gary is, become more interesting, and I'm interested in seeing where his subplot goes. And we kind of get into how Gary and Jan, how their relationship started. So again, what's going on with Gary? I'm interested. And then Emmy and Jordan, they are starting to head back home. Emmy's trying to get more answers, but Jordan still is hesitant in telling her what's going on with him and his family. And they finally get back to Emmy's house. They take a passed out Winter. Jordan gets his sword, and again, every time he holds the sword, visions pop up. It's pretty much like training exercises. And the sword, we got 3 versions of his dad fighting, and again, to him, he's just fighting like copies of his dad, but to everybody else, he's just swinging his sword against nothing. And so I just thought, this whole thing's compelling. And are his parents really dead? Because it seems that because of how the twins' powers manifested, it makes it seem like the parents had to die in order for the powers to get passed down. So we'll see, but again, the sword is giving Jordan visions and trials so he can, become stronger. But then we get Gary. He snaps Jordan out of it, and him and Jordan, they take a trip out. Meanwhile, Winter, she is still unconscious, but Gary and Jordan, they take a little ride to get some air, and Gary and Jordan, they have a heartfelt conversation about just stepping out of their father's shadows, and I felt like their character development is really good in these couple pages. But again, Gary's possessed by something. And Gary convinces Jordan to let go of the sword, but the sword is telling Jordan, like, hey, what are you doing? Gary is the bad guy here. But Jordan doesn't listen, and he throws the sword in a nearby lake. And Gary, with his nefarious smile, is like, good boy. But something happens when Jordan throws the sword in the lake, and Gary's true intentions are starting to be revealed. So that's where the issue ends. So another great, fun issue of Just Brutal. I highly recommend people pick up this book. And it's just a good time. Just the script is on point. The artwork is really great. And yeah, it's just a really fun story. So I highly recommend Just Brutal. And that was issue number 4. And now we move on to DC, and we got three titles from DC, like I mentioned. First one we're going to go over is Green Lantern Corps, and this is issue number 18, and this is written by Morgan Hampton. And there's a bunch of artists on this issue. We got Fernando Persarin on pencils, and he's probably inked by Auclair Albert, but we got other artists like Juan Jose Rip, Will Conrad, Iguaria, and Jason Paz. The colors are done by Matt Herms and Lee Luridge, and the letters are done by Dave Sharp. So again, another great issue of Green Lantern Corps. Morgan Hampton is really building momentum with this title ever since he took over solo writing duties. But we get last issue, Guy Gardner, after they went into that black hole, Guy Gardner was able to he was able to convince all the emotional entities to join him and to help defeat the Manhunters. So he's trying to convince Jessica Cruz that what they were doing isn't working and they can't just take the emotional entities for granted. But Jessica Cruz is like, hey, we have the powers, we need to use them to defeat the Manhunters. But Guy Gardner, he's like, no, you need to realize there's more to that. And he takes Jessica Cruz, and they pretty much go their spirits or their souls go into another realm, and they're like caught in this animation. And meanwhile, the Manhunters have arrived, and they're looking to obtain all the emotional entities within Guy Gardner. So Joe Mullen, since Jessica Cruz is, hypnotized essentially, and she has to lead all the different cores to the Oa's atmosphere to fend off the Manhunters. And meanwhile, Guy Gardner and Jessica Cruz, their souls essentially transport to the emotional expanse, and that's where the emotional entities reside. And their emotional expanse is outside of space and time. So we get again, colors by Matt Herms and Lou Ridge, definitely great here. And so all the cores band together to fight the Manhunters. I thought it was cool that the Manhunters, they all formed to create this giant laser cannon. So they shoot that to break the barrier and break the defensive line of the different cores. And then the main Manhunter who took over Aya's body, she goes and uses that opening to confront Aya, who's still in her energy twin form, and she uploaded herself onto Oa's mainframe. And so Aya tells her, like, hey, since I've been in Oa's computer mainframe, I've developed some defensive systems to help combat you guys, since she doesn't have her own physical body. And meanwhile, all the core members are just fighting in Oa's atmosphere, and they're trying to figure out what to do, since nothing's working against the Manhunters. So Joe Mullen has a conversation with Kilowog about anime and how anime helped them construct this huge Megazord. So I thought that was pretty cool. Nice to get an anime shout out. But yeah, so the Manhunters, they counter by creating and forming a large mech of their own, Aya. And cut back to the emotional expanse. So Guy and Jessica, they are confronted by the emotional entities, and then Jessica admits that while she became the leader of the Green Lantern Corps, this was essentially doing too much. She put it all on her shoulders, when in reality she needed to actually seek out the help of others, because they work better as a team. So eventually they agree, but Jessica, she gets woken up from her state, and the main Aya, or the main Manhunter who took over Aya's body, it's trying to kill Jessica. And while Guy is still trapped in the emotional expanse. So that was pretty much it of the issue. I'm really digging this arc, and yeah, just Morgan Hampton's just each issue gets better and better in my opinion since he took over. So I highly recommend Green Lantern Corps. That was issue number 8. And now we go on to the next one, and this is from the Vertigo imprint. This is Bleeding Hearts. This is issue number 6, and this is written by Dennis Camp. The artwork's done by Stepan Morian, and the colors are done by Matt Hollingsworth, and letters are done by Hassan Otsmane Elhal. And I'm gonna just say it, this is the best issue of the series so far. I really thought this issue was compelling, and it was building all towards this issue. And you start with, you know, the humans that are on the run, the zombies that they're celebrating their outbreak, and they're doing a celebratory hunt in this mall. And meanwhile, Poke, he still can't bring himself to eat humans again. And Mush, his friend, is, you know, seeing what's wrong with him, or asking what's wrong, and Poke just runs away and Mush goes after him. Meanwhile, Rabbit and her new friend Miss Ruby are on the run as well with the other humans, and some of the other humans are, it's every man for themselves, and they're trying to essentially use Rabbit as a distraction. But Miss Ruby, she has become quite close with Rabbit, and Ruby and Rabbits, they separate from the other humans, and they come across another zombie with that helmet, and I thought this sequence was badass. Miss Ruby just takes this guy, lays him down against shattered glass, and just stomps the shit out of his head, and the head separates. So I thought that was a pretty cool sequence. The artwork by Stepan Morian. At first, I wasn't really feeling it, but now, after a while, I'm really into the artwork. It just fits the tone perfectly. And yeah, we catch up with Mush and Poke. Poke again is trying not to tell Mush that about, you know, his heart, and Mush is just like, dude, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like this? And then Ruby and Rabbit, they enter this room with a bunch of bones on the ground, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then we get this sequence with this giant fat zombie grabs Rabbit and is about to eat her, but Miss Ruby, she can't help Rabbit. The zombie's too big and she's not able to reach her. And then meanwhile, Poke is about to tell, Poke is asking Mush, like, don't you ever feel like there's more than life than just eating zombies, essentially? But it's revealed that, because Poke asks Mush, like, hey, did you already eat the big one? AKA Rabbit's mother. But Mush, he reveals to Poke, like, no, I didn't eat the big one. She escaped. So we had thought that Rabbit's mother had died, but no, she's alive, and she saves her daughter by shooting the giant zombie in the head. But that alerts all the other zombies, so they are coming after them. Rabbit's mother is able to throw down a rope to pull Rabbit up, and they're finally reunited. So that was a pretty emotional moment. But Miss Ruby, she is still trapped on the ground. And then we get the moment where Poke is trying to tell Mush about what happened to him, and Mush is being a little too pushy, and Mush finally finds out that Poke's heart is beating, and Mush, he doesn't know what to think, but then he goes into a ravage mode. And then Rabbit, she wants to save Miss Ruby, but the little rope won't be able to hold her. So Rabbit's mother cuts the rope, and Rabbit's just devastated. She runs away. But Miss Ruby, she's understanding. She knows it's her time, and she tells Rabbit's mother, like, hey, go after your daughter. I would have done the same thing. And unfortunately, Miss Ruby, she gets killed. But then we get Mush is just attacking Poke, and Poke's just like, hey, man, don't do this. I love you like a brother. And Poke, he sets Mush on fire, and this whole sequence was just, it was heartbreaking, because you feel like Poke didn't want to do this. Mush was his best friend, and meanwhile Mush is just yelling at Poke, and then Mush is slowly succumbing to the fire, and Poke was just telling him, like, hey, I loved you, I didn't want to do this. And Poke's like, you're a human now. It's disgusting. And this whole section reminded me of Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin's on fire and Obi-Wan has the high ground. And then Rabbit and her mother come across Poke, and Poke is like, yeah, if it weren't for you guys, this would have never happened. And like, I want you to understand, but you can't understand me. But then at the end, Rabbit and her mother finally understand Poke. So that was the end of the issue. That was I think my favorite issue of Bleeding Hearts. This is like, this might be my favorite issue that I read this week, but yeah, definitely very heartfelt, very thrilling, and can't wait to figure out, like, now that the humans understand Poke, where are they going to go next? Or is the Horde going to still continue to go after them? We'll see, but highly recommend Bleeding Hearts. That was issue number 6. And the last issue, the last DC issue I'm going to go over is Absolute Batman. This is issue number 22, and this is written by Scott Snyder. The artwork's not Nick Dragotta, it's Werther Deladera. And that artist, if you're familiar, he does the artwork in Something is Killing the Children. I haven't read that series, but I've heard great things about it. But yeah, he's the guest artist in this issue, and we got colors done by Frank Martin, and the letters are done by Tom Napolitano. And this issue focuses pretty much on the origin of the Harley Quinn, the absolute version of Harley Quinn. So it starts off with 13 years in the past, a young Harley. She is writing a letter to her father that's not with her, and she's under the bed, and her mother comes in and tries to console her daughter, because Harley, she is afraid of a ghost in the house and afraid of the dark. So her mother is trying to comfort her, and she gives Harley a toy mallet and tells her that it will protect her. And then it cuts to the present, and Batman and Harley, they are on the run from not only the police but also the Robins. And during this time, again, Harley is trying to tell Batman her story, but Batman wants none out of it. He's on a mission. But again, the Robins are on the hunt. And so it's revealed that Harley's mother was a neurologist working at the company JK, and that's Jack Grimm's company. And supposedly Harley's mother found out something really bad that was going on, so she was looking to expose Jack Grimm. And meanwhile, Harley's mother would never talk about Harley's father with her, so as Harley got older, she got this DNA test, and she was able to track down her father, and then they started communicating. And then again, keep cutting back and forth from the present to past, and vice versa. But Batman's being really stubborn. He's like determined to go to this area, but Harley's like telling him like, hey, like you need to listen to what I have to say. And they're able to fight off the police that's after him. And meanwhile, again, the Robins are on their tail. They go into this tunnel. And then we cut back to, again, Harley as a kid. She's around 13 here. Her mother has become so involved with trying to expose Jack Grimm that Harley starts to worry about her mother, because Jack Grimm's very dangerous, and if Jack finds out what her mother's doing, then he'll be after her. But more and more, Harley's mother is not trying to spend time with her. She's away for a lot of the time, and Harley, she finds out something in her closet, and meanwhile, again, the Robins and Jason Todd is determined to find Batman and to bring him in, even though they were called in to, recharge and to start again tomorrow. But then, so it's revealed that in Harley's closet is a secret passageway and a secret elevator down to Arc M. And she comes across these mutilated people and their versions of classic Batman villains. And this one especially, this is the version of Calendar Man, and this version is just terrifying. And so she finds out, and Harley just screams in terror, and then her mother comes out, and her mother's like, what are you doing down here? And her mother's like in the classic mainline Harley Quinn outfit, and Harley's like, what are you doing down here? Like, what happened to you? And her mother's like, I was wrong about Jack Grimm. He's not trying to hurt people. He's trying to help people. And now we don't need to leave. Arc M is our home now. And Harley's just terrified of what her mother became. And she doesn't recognize her mother anymore. Her mother is officially Dr. Arkham. And so she runs away also her father, since she had been in communication with her father was so worried that he agreed to go visit both Harley and her mother. But anyway, it goes back to the Robins again. They're arguing about whether they should continue their search or not. But then Harley and Batman, and now they're arguing because, again, Batman, he's on this mission. The Scarecrow has gotten into his head, and also he's thinking about the file that Gordon gave him a few issues ago, and Harley's just telling him like, hey, like, all that doesn't matter. You need to come with me, but Batman doesn't want to, and they start to fight, and Batman eventually breaks her mallet, and then Harley just leaves, and she tells Alfred like, hey, I'm done with Batman. The Red Hood gang, we're out. We're not dealing with this bullshit anymore. But Batman, he goes to his father's grave, and this part was kind of crazy. But meanwhile, Harley reveals, since she walked away in frustration, she tells them like, hey, Batman, Bruce, you don't get to hear the ending of the story. And it's revealed that her father is Jack Grimm. That twist was kind of obvious, but that's not the only twist that happened. Batman, he digs up Thomas Wayne's grave. He doesn't find anything in there, and then he gets a call from the Scarecrow, and Scarecrow shows him like, hey, I got a surprise for you. Your father's still alive, and we got this deathly skeletal man. He's like, don't let Bruce see me like this. Make him think I'm dead, you promise? And Bruce is like yells, "It's not true." So that was pretty much it. This was another great issue of Absolute Batman. The artwork was okay. Definitely not my thing, but I appreciated the story. It's just really compelling. And yeah, so Jack Grimm is Harley Quinn's father, and Thomas Wayne is supposed to be alive. What does that mean? Like, Bruce's sole mission to become Batman was based on his father's death. Now that his father is actually alive, or is he alive, or is just the Scarecrow trying to manipulate him? I don't know, but another great issue of Absolute Batman. This continues to prove why it's the highest selling comic right now. It's just a great story, great writing, and can't wait for the next issue. So that was it. That was my comic book recap for this week. Let me know if you read any of these books, and let me know your thoughts if you did read them. And yeah, just leave a like on the video, share it if you can. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so I would really appreciate it if you subscribe. And yeah, just thank you again for watching the video. This has been Chris Chats Comics. My name is Chris Gonzalez, and I'm out. Peace, dogs.